All right, we're going to go ahead and call to order the regular meeting of the Oakdale City Council, April 23rd, 2024. Sarah, will you take the roll?
Councilmember Herr.
Here.
Councilmember Ingebrigtsen.
Here.
Councilmember Morcomb.
Here.
Councilmember Willenbring.
Here.
Mayor Zabel.
Here, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. All righty, council members. In front of us, we have a slightly amended version of the agenda. What did we add? We added a consent item and a police item. All right. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
So moved.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion a second. Any comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And the agenda is adopted. Next up, we have approval of the minutes. First set is workshop meeting minutes, April 9th, 2024. Council members, any changes or corrections? I'll look for motion.
So moved.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion a second. Any comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And those minutes are approved. Next up, we have regular meeting minutes from April 9th, 2024. Council members, any changes or corrections? I'll look for motion.
So moved.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion a second. Any comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And those minutes are approved. We're rolling right along. No public hearings tonight, so we'll move into open forum. We have a couple proclamations and then a brief presentation, and then we will open the floor. First up, we have a proclamation for recognizing Pete Graske Arbor Day. And the proclamation reads, whereas the Oakdale City Council supports the planting of trees and encourages residents to landscape their properties with trees, and whereas in 1975, Mayor Pete Graske was instrumental in establishing the city's first Arbor Day tree giveaway, and whereas 2024 marks the 49th anniversary of Oakdale's Arbor Day celebration and tree giveaway, and whereas Arbor Day is a time to appreciate the important contributions made by trees and to continue to increase their numbers in our community. And whereas this year's Arbor Day event will be held on Saturday, April 27th at 9:30 a.m. in Walton Park. Therefore, I, Kevin Zabel, Mayor of Oakdale, Minnesota, do hereby proclaim April 27th as Peter Graske Arbor Day in the city of Oakdale and call upon its residents of the community to plant trees for the enjoyment and health of generations, of our generation and of generations to come. This is one of the highlights of our year. I mean, kind of crazy to think. So, you know, for a number of years now, we've done 200 trees each year, you know, going back almost 50 years. Obviously, I'm guessing we haven't done 200 every year, but there are thousands and thousands and thousands of trees in this community that have come directly from this event. And I think this is probably the fastest they've ever sold out this year, or were reserved this year. I think just a day or two, and they were gone. So our residents love this opportunity, and it'll be good to see so many of our residents come out on Saturday, even though I think it's supposed to rain again this year. So, but it'll be good. Next up, we have a proclamation recognizing Skin Cancer and Melanoma Awareness Month. Whereas it is imperative that communities across Minnesota be reminded of the importance of sun safety, and whereas overexposure to UV radiation is one of the major causes of melanoma and non-melanoma skin cancers, and whereas skin cancer is the most common type of cancer in the United States. And whereas skin cancer can easily be prevented if the proper precautions are taken, such as staying in the shade from the late morning to mid-afternoon, wearing a wide-brimmed hat and a lightweight long-sleeve shirt, regularly applying a broad-spectrum sunscreen of an SPF 15 or higher with UVA and UVB protections, and avoiding indoor tanning to reduce the risk of developing skin cancer. And whereas skin self-examination should be performed on a monthly basis because skin cancers are highly treatable when detected early. And whereas the city of Oakdale encourages people to protect themselves and their families against sun damage to their skin and to promote sun safety awareness and education in our community. Therefore, I, Kevin Zabel, Mayor of Oakdale, Minnesota, do hereby proclaim the month of May 2024 as Skin Cancer and Melanoma Awareness Month in the city of Oakdale. Councilmember Willenbring, you always give us a PSA every year. Would you like to stress the importance of getting these checks?
Sure. I'm stressing the importance of getting the checks. It has affected my family directly, and I don't want any other family to be affected by it. It's not fun. So, yeah, go get your skin cancer checks.
Even if you don't think a spot or something is something, it's always good to ask,
It
right?
usually is, actually. in spots where you wouldn't expect it. It happens in spots where it's not exposed to skin even, so, or to sun, excuse me.
So go get checked.
Absolutely.
Perfect. Thank you for that. Before we open the floor for open forum, we have an update from Luke Fischer, the Executive Director of the League of Minnesota Cities. Luke, welcome.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. My name is Luke Fischer. I'm Executive Director at the League of Minnesota Cities. I have to admit, I'm here under something of false pretenses. We told your city administrator that we were coming tonight to give you an update on the league, but in reality, I'm joined by my colleague Jay Strobel, the city manager from the city of Brooklyn Park and league board member, to thank Chris, because Chris has been on our board and served us very well. And so we're going to do that tonight, but context is important. And so I'd like to tell you just a little bit about who we are as an organization so you have a full appreciation and understanding of the scope of the impact that Chris has had as a board member at the League. The League of Minnesota Cities is an association that represents 838 of the state's 855 cities. You guys have any guess who our largest member is? Minneapolis. Very good. Chris, you can't answer this next question. Any guesses on our smallest member?
Birchwood Village?
No, not Birchwood Village.
Landfall?
Not Landfall.
Now there's some.
How about a population number? Throw out a population.
300.
300? No, smaller.
20.
20, 19. 19, so very good, Mr. Mayor. If we were playing Price is Right rules, though, you would be out, so I'm sorry for that.
I would have went one. I mean,
Barry has a population of just 19 people. They're out in western Minnesota. They're by Wheaton. And oftentimes when I say they're by Wheaton, people say, where's Wheaton? It's by Morris. And then sometimes people say, where's Morris? And I say, have you seen the state? There's a bump on the western side. Barry is out in that direction. But as an association, we have to represent cities everywhere from Minneapolis to Oakdale to Barry. And that takes a lot of focus and a lot of commitment and a lot of ideas and a lot of input from people that care deeply about the organization. That's our board of directors. They're city officials just like you from across the state that step up and give us a lot of their time and a lot of their energy and a lot of their focus, and they make us a lot better. To do the heavy lifting to thank Chris, I'm going to turn it over to Jay, and then I'm going to say just a couple of things to close things out without any objection, Mr. Mayor.
Jay, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Fisher. Mr. Mayor, members of council, Chris, Jim. Jim happens to be our attorney as well in Brooklyn Park, too. As the executive director Fisher said, my name is Jay Strobel. I'm the Brooklyn Park city manager. Also this year serve as Metro Cities president. As president, I have a seat on the board of the League of Minnesota Cities. And I'm honored this evening to be here to recognize Chris Volker's service to the League of Minnesota Cities Board of Directors. Chris was appointed to the board in 2021, and during her tenure has been a very active and dedicated participant. She took her time on the board seriously, getting involved however she could, whether that be attending league events, helping to convene members to discuss important topics, or serving on various committees. Chris has participated on the league's policy committees, helping to set legislative priorities that represent the interests of cities across the state. She has also served on the 4M Fund Advisory Committee, which is the investment program for Minnesota public funds governed by the league. Chris has been a great voice on the board for cities across the state, but particularly here in the metro area, and of course for the city of Oakdale. So just as one city manager to another, one board member to another, just want to thank Chris for her incredible service, and thank you, Mayor, and members of the council for loaning her out on occasion for those board meetings, because I do know personally they take a little bit of time, but really important work to work on behalf of Luke and the board in those 838 cities that Luke mentioned. So thank you.
Thank you.
And if I could just put an extra point of emphasis on our gratitude to the city for sharing Chris's time with us. The perspective that you bring, I'm sure, the perspective that she brings, I'm sure you all know and appreciate. But Chris is someone that I know that we can always count on to tell us the truth, to give us the straight talk on anything that we're dealing with. And that really helps cut through a lot and helps us make better decisions as an organization. It wasn't in Jay's comments, but I also think it's worth emphasizing too that Chris's perspective hasn't just been that of Oakdale, it's been of greater Minnesota too, and there aren't many people on our board that have served both in greater Minnesota and in the metro area, and so that unique perspective is extra special to us. So with that, Chris, we'd like to say thank you to you. Jay and I would love it if we could get a picture with you and your council, and then we'll get out of your hair, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Council members, let's head down.
Right, count of three. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Then one more phone. All right, count of three. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Remember when you wore the Brooklyn Park One of the most hilarious moments of my time on the council.
Oh, dang, they left before we could talk about housing. Just kidding.
Nice.
Another day. We are still under open forum, so if there's anybody in the audience that would like to share anything that's on their mind, please feel free to step up to the podium and share whatever you would like with us. Our rules under public comment ask you to keep your remarks to 3 minutes or so. Other than that, please feel free to step on up and begin with your name and address for the record. Seeing none, we're going to keep things moving and move into consensus motions. Council members, we have A through D in front of us tonight. Are there any that a council member would like to pull for individual consideration? Hearing none, I will look for motion.
Make a motion to approve consensus motions A through D as presented.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And A through D are approved as presented. Next is an opportunity to check in with our advisory boards and commissions. It looks like the only one that met since our last meeting was Parks and Rec, and Councilmember Morcomb is their liaison.
Yeah, no, we were able to meet, and we were able to get a presentation from the consultants that were hired right now to work on a larger strategic plan for our parks. I know a survey went out to get feedback from the community. They got over 250 different responses, but there's also a map included with that survey, and that's still open for residents to access and provide feedback. Over 100 points of feedback on that map, and I know there's more surveys coming out in June. So that was shared and accomplished. It's exciting for our Parks and Rec group, and also their master work plan was reviewed and approved.
Lots going on with that
What's
group.
going on?
Thank you, Andy. Next up, we have award of bid. We just have one in front of us tonight, but it's technically 3 items, it looks like, right? All right. Mr. Bachmeyer, welcome back.
Yeah, thank you. Good to be back. Good evening, Mayor and council members. The city did open bids last Thursday. There were 3 projects that were bid under one contract. It included the street improvement project for 2024, paving of some trails and the nature preserve or Oakdale Park, and then also parking lot improvements at the North Fire Station or Station 1. There were 4 contractors that provided bids for all 3 projects. Dressel Contracting out of Forest Lake was the low bidder on the street project, was the low bidder on the park project, and was also the low bidder on the fire station project. So the total of the 3, they had the lowest bid for all 3 projects at $3,596,120.50. The project overall comes in under the CIP approved budget, so there's a slight reduction with one exception. The trail improvements did come in a little bit higher, and so we're going to be working with the contractor on how we can address that cost difference. With that, the recommendation is to award the contract to Dressel Contracting the amount stated previously. With that, I'd stand for any questions the council may have.
Council members, any questions? All right, let's get cracking. Three recommendations tonight. Who wants to take it away?
I'll make a motion to waive reading and adopt resolution 2024-39, awarding the bid for city project R2024-01, 2024 street reconstruction, city project P 2023-03, Oakdale Park Trail improvements, and City Project B 2024-02, the North Fire Station parking lot improvements to Dressel Contracting Incorporated in the amount of $3,210,435.36 and amending the 2024 budget.
There's a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second, final comments. I have a question for staff. That last piece about amending the 2024 budget, it's not necessarily tied to the action. I just want, how do you want to handle that based on our comments at our workshop tonight?
Mr. Mayor, City Council Jim, I think the issue is that the budget amendment is to increase the allocation to come out of Parks Capital to an amount greater than we're actually going to need. I don't know that it harms anything by doing the budget amendment, because we're going to spend what, we've already got the direction to spend less. So would we have to adjust the resolution and the action, I guess?
Mr. Mayor, no, I don't think so. If you want to adopt it all at one time, you can do that. That's not a problem.
And then we
Got
already
the
have our
threshold high,
intent.
come in under.
Yes.
Got it. Okay. There was a motion, there was a second. I had a comment. Any other comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that resolution is adopted. Next recommendation.
I'll make a motion to authorize the mayor and city administrator to enter into a contract with Dressel Contracting, Inc. for the improvements according to the plans and specifications therefore approved by the city council.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second?
Motion and a second. Any comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that recommendation is approved. Last one.
I'll make a motion to authorize the mayor and city administrator to sign an engineering service contract with SEH for construction-related engineering services in an amount not to exceed $298,500.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Final comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that recommendation is approved. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you, Brian.
Next up, we are under staff reports, checking in with community development first. We have a couple items there. Community Development Director Andy Gitzlav, welcome.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, council members. The item before you is a CUP for an accessory apartment at 2872 Hallmark Avenue North. The request is to establish the accessory apartment, which is essentially an attached secondary dwelling unit to an existing dwelling. Their current home is 1,717 square feet. The proposed accessory apartment would be approximately 1,500 square feet, which includes a new 300 square foot one-stall garage. The property is approximately 1.1 acres and is zoned R1, where accessory apartments are allowed via the conditional use permit process. After reviewing the request, staff finds that the request meets the CUP review criteria in the zoning ordinance as detailed in the Planning Commission staff report. The Planning Commission did meet on April 4th to review the request and did recommend approval. And staff does recommend approval of this CUP subject to the following conditions, which are listed in Resolution 2024-29, and I'll briefly read those. The owner of the residence shall occupy at least one of the dwelling units on the premises, except for a bona fide temporary absence. The use shall conform to the criteria required under City of Oakdale Code of Ordinances, Chapter 25, Article 6, 2523C3. Those are the specific criteria for accessory apartments. A building permit must be obtained for the use. And the property owner shall verify with the Metropolitan Council if a sewer availability charges are required as a result of the expansion. Now, it is unlikely that it'll be required. That'll be required if there was a new line extended from the streets. But until we get the building plans, that is when we would verify that. And then lastly, the accessory apartment including the initial garage shall not exceed 1,600 square feet. So the accessory apartment can't be bigger than the primary residence. And with that, Mayor, Council, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Council members, any questions for Andy? All right, I'll look for an action.
I'll make a motion to waive reading and adopt Resolution 2024-29, approving a conditional use permit for an accessory apartment at 2872 Hallmark Avenue North with conditions included in the attached resolution.
There's a motion, is there a second?
Second?
Motion and a second. Any final comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that CUP is approved.
Thank you.
Hannah's going to walk us through the next one. Hannah, welcome. Always exciting budget amendments. Woo! Take it away.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. At the September 18th, 2023 Environmental Management Commission meeting, it was suggested that the city look into the possibility of offering Home Energy Squad rebates to Oakdale residents for home energy audits. Home Energy Squad is a program provided by Xcel Energy and CenterPoint Energy and delivered by Center for Energy and Environment, where energy experts help homeowners identify ways to save energy. This idea was then brought forth to council at their November 14th, 2023 workshop meeting. Council members were supportive of subsidizing the cost of the audits and providing residents with a 50% rebate for home energy audits on a trial basis. The initial budget is $6,500, with $5,000 being dedicated for rebates and $1,500 being dedicated for marketing. The Community Development Department and Communications are working to finalize a communications plan, which will follow the direction that you gave at the November 14th workshop. Marketing efforts will include targeting a mailer that targets older homes and social media posts such as paid Facebook ads. So the action before you today is to approve an inter-fund transfer from the Pandemic Business Recovery Loan Fund to the general fund and amend the budget in the amount of $6,500 so that the Home Energy Squad rebates can be funded.
Great.
I'm happy to answer any questions.
Council members, any questions for Hannah? Councilmember Morcomb.
Yeah, just a quick question. At what point, if this is passed and approved, would residents be able to access?
Immediately. You know, the communications that, you know, the mailer won't be going out tomorrow, but, well, let me back up. An agreement needs to be signed between CEE and the city. And once that happens, then it will be immediate. There will be no delay. They've got basically everything set up on their back end for it to go live.
Perfect, thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember Herr.
just a question on the source of the funds, with it being from the Pandemic Business Recovery Loan Fund. These funds do not have any ties, federal ties, that restricts us from using this fund. Is that clear, or is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
But along that line, I'm actually going to make a request or recommendation to change the fund that we take money out of. Small tweak. Instead of the Pandemic Business Recovery Fund, taking it out of Special Projects Fund. 2 reasons. Special Projects Fund has consistently been what we've used for small requests like this. 2, as a body, we haven't had a conversation about what we want to do with the Pandemic Recovery Fund yet. So I don't want to get ahead of that conversation. I hope my colleagues find this to be a friendly amendment. Small tweak, but I'm seeing a lot of head nods, so maybe I'll just go ahead and make the motion to waive reading and adopt Resolution 2024-40, approving an interfund transfer from the Special Projects Fund to the General Fund and amending the Community Development Department 2024 budget in the amount of $6,500 for Home Energy Squad rebates and marketing. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any conversation? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that interfund transfer is approved. Anybody want to tackle that other recommendation for us?
I would like to make, oh,
I'll make a motion to authorize the mayor and city administrator to enter into an agreement with Center for Energy and Environment for the administration of Home Energy Squad rebates.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
second?
Motion and a second. Any comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that agreement is approved, and we will get that signed. Thank you, Hannah. Next up, Police Department. We have an application to renew an off-sale intoxicating liquor license. Before we move forward, I think Chief Newton's going to present this, right? Feel free to come on down, right? Who has the staff presentation?
The chief is going to do
Okay.
it.
Chief, feel free to start walking on down. But before we move forward, I have a statement to make. A question has been raised as to whether I have a conflict in this matter. Regardless of whether a legitimate legal conflict of interest exists or not, I believe that all elected officials must hold themselves to the highest standard and avoid even the perception of a conflict of interest. A connection to an applicant in a quasi-judicial decision, whether direct, familial, or transactional, warrants an elected official to recuse. Because I was a witness to an infraction in this matter, I'm recusing from this agenda item and asking Acting Mayor Ingebrigtsen to preside. I will take no part in the discussion or decision on this matter. you don't need it.
As a, informally. Okay, at this point, I'm going to turn it over to City Attorney Thompson to provide some general background, and I apologize, Chief. We went a little out of order. I think it would be beneficial for Jim to provide the background first, and then to present staff report. So, okay.
Thank you, Acting Mayor and members of council. This is only going to take a minute, so, but I just thought it would be helpful to set the stage for you a little bit on this. Liquor license in the city are renewed as of April 1st. They expire on March 31st of every year. The applicant before you is the current holder of was the holder of a liquor license for location 1801 Geneva Avenue. Because of a late submission by the applicant, the license renewal could not get to the city council until April 9th. So therefore, the existing license expired on March 31st. So it was considered by the council at your last meeting. At that meeting, you directed staff to come back with a resolution of denial. The applicant was present and was allowed to speak at that time. But under your city code, before the council takes final action on either a non-renewal or a revocation, the applicant is entitled to a hearing if they want one. So staff did send out the proper notices to the applicant, letting him know that if he wanted to have a hearing, it would be tonight before the city council. He has requested that hearing. So the purpose of the meeting tonight is for you to consider both the information presented by the police department and the information submitted by the applicant, and consider any potential mitigation factors you think are appropriate, and then make a decision one way or the other on the license renewal. There are two resolutions in your packet. One is a resolution denying the application with appropriate findings, and the second one is an application for approval. With that, certainly turn over to the police chief.
Can I open it up for any questions for Jim at this point? Any questions for Jim? Okay, Chief Newton, now it's your turn.
Sorry, Jake.
Oh, okay.
Jim, just a point of clarification. So if the council wanted to, we could make a motion to approve, but suspend the license if we felt that that was something that we wanted to, as a way to say, hey, what you did was wrong, and you need to make sure that you follow the ordinance, so then we can defend our ordinances, yet at the same time giving them a grace period per se to reconcile and rectify the issue to some degree.
Yes, Mayor and City Council. Yes, the ranges are approval, denial, or there is an option if the council wanted to, impose some sort of suspension or a time period during which they wouldn't be able to serve, but after that time period, they would. It's a little technical because they currently do not have a license, so you can't suspend a license that doesn't exist. But if the majority of the council is inclined to go that way, we can figure out a way to get that done.
Could it be possible for us to deny and then also open it up for a later date for approval? Is that another course of process?
Mr. Mayor, members of council, the answer is yes, unless there's something in the code that says to the contrary. I don't think there is. So you could hypothetically deny it with the opportunity to reapply in X number of days. Yes, that would be an option.
Thank you for that clarification.
Any other questions for Jim? All right, Chief.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. At the last council meeting, I provided a summary. This one will be very similar to what I spoke of last meeting. As you're aware, Oak Liquor failed to submit its 2024 liquor license application, documents, and payment for processing by the deadline of February 16th. Consequently, the licensing clerk sent the owner a letter on March 27th, 2024, advising the owner that he'll need to cease the sale of liquor between April 1st and April 9th. In addition to the letter, the police department contacted the owner on March 26th to let them know by phone and advised them that they cannot sell liquor license. Again, that was not required. That was just an extra step we took to inform the owner, please don't sell liquor without a license. During that first week of April, the police department learned that Oak Liquor was selling liquor without a license. The police department documented several of these incidents. On April 3rd, a police department employee witnessed customers in the store that were leaving the store with what appeared to be alcoholic beverages. The following day, April 4th, a police detective entered the business and purchased beer. At that time, the police department contacted the owner and advised him, again, please cease the sales of alcohol because you do not have a license. On April 7th, the Oakdale Police Department learned that the owner sold liquor to an Oakdale resident, which he learned is the mayor. That following day, on April 8th, the police department made contact with Mr. Lohr about him selling alcohol this past weekend. Mr. Lohr, the owner, acknowledged he was selling liquor without a license. And he said that he had financial obligations which necessitated the continued operation of his business, even if he didn't have a license. In addition to that activity in April, there were some previous compliance violations that were documented. In October of 2021, there was an underage sale of alcohol. In October of 2023, an underage sale of alcohol. And December 2023, an underage tobacco sale. You know, when we review these incidents and make a recommendation, this is something that I do not take lightly, because I understand the gravity of this decision that the council has to make. You know, in light of the willful acts by the owner to continue to sell alcohol knowing he didn't have a license, and the education and advisement and warnings that were provided just to tell him to stop until after April 9th, in which the liquor license would have likely been recommended for approval. We have no other choice but to make a recommendation of denial just by these willful and purposeful acts. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Could you clarify, sorry,
Oh, I was just say, council, any questions for Chief Newton?
sorry, Jake?
No, it's all right.
Could you clarify one thing you just said? Did you say it happened again this weekend?
No, I'm sorry, it was the week of April 7th, 6th, and 7th.
Okay. Thank you.
Go ahead.
And Chief, since the last time, since the last council meeting, has the operator, have they since opened and sold any alcohol?
No, not to our knowledge.
So how many contacts were there with the owner about the fact that he can't sell? I mean, I think you had mentioned the 27th, and then the 7th, and then the 8th. Was that right?
Yeah, so there's a phone call made by the police department to advise them that you're going to receive this letter from the city, from the city licensing, documenting that you cannot sell liquor between April 1st and April 9th. So then that letter was also sent. Then it just follow up, one of our police employees observed that violation on the 3rd. Then we actually sent a detective into the store who purchased alcohol. And again, at that time, it was more of just a warning, and we were going to seek an administrative fine for the violation, but then it just kept continuing.
Okay.
Police Chief, do we know if they've paid their fines?
I believe a invoice was sent. I am not aware if that has been paid.
Mr. Mayor, City Council, I do not think it's been paid yet, but to be fair, I think the invoice was sent a couple weeks ago, not that long, and not that long ago, so.
Okay, any other questions? All right, thank you, Chief. At this time, I would like to invite the owner to come up, and you're free to present whatever you wish to present.
Okay. But, give me Mr. Mayor, and city council mayors, members. Can I?
Are you, so is this a purchase agreement to sell the business to someone else?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So yeah, I'll explain all the situation, what's really going on.
And Chris, while they're looking that over, as a matter of just clarification, if they were to sell the business, wouldn't the new owner need to apply anyways?
So, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Acting Mayor, Council, I think you'll
I can
explain
explain,
this.
yes.
I
I
think
can
that
explain
happened
everything.
prior, but you can go ahead and explain.
Yes. Okay, yes, and I respect what Mr. Nunes has said. The fee was paid on the, March 27th, so I didn't receive the letters until the following weekends, so which is on like April 2nd, Tuesday. So that's when I received the letters from Katie Morgan. Oh, Katie Robinson, sorry about that. Okay, so let me explain the whole situation here. So what leads to the non-compliance on, which is April 2024, is because we, on January 30th of 2024, I received a letters of purchase agreement. And one of the contingencies is to remove my liquor license prior to closing date on April 1st, 2024. And that's on the third page. Second page of the letters of intent of purchase. Under the contingencies, number 8, it says that all contingencies must be removed or prior to closing, and it's under my liquor license. Okay, and then an assets of purchase agreement was entered on February 5th of 2024, and it was signed on February 2027, February 7, 2024 by both parties, me and the buyers. And also the same thing, it's like a due diligencies on the assets purchase agreement on page 3, numbers 20.2. And one of the due diligencies is for the new owners to apply for the liquor license within 7 days of the purchase agreement on February 7th. So since then, the purchase agreement was placed and date is to close on April 1st. I did not apply for the liquor license. And then it was after the liquor license renewal has passed, I was notified that the buyer backed out on the deal. And then I then rushed to apply for the liquor license on February 29th. So it took a while. Yeah, it took a while for Katie and us to exchange documents and going back and forth. So it took like a while. And then this is the first year that my application was submitted late because with the whole situation going on. And for the compliances on April, honestly, I don't know what to do. So I kept the store open, so because I got SBA loans on it too, and plus a lease. So with the non-compliances on the 2021 in October 2023, we failed because there are times when I have other things outside the stores to do, like family matters. So I have family members help out in the main times, and that's when the police come in and do the compliances, so it failed. And if you guys were to grant me another liquor license, my plans for the future is to be in compliance with the CDs.
Well, a question if I could. If you were to continue and consider selling this business again to somebody else, would a denial here jeopardize the ability of a new owner to get a license? Or it's really just tied to this individual? Is that right?
I mean, yeah, I mean, and to be fair, that would be up to us, right, as the policy body, you know, and only speaking for myself, clean slate. I mean, you know, I don't know how everybody else feels, but.
Right. Well, it's new ownership.
Yeah.
That makes sense. And a question for you as well. You'd said at some point the people who were going to buy the business backed out.
Yes.
Do you have the date that they backed out?
Check the text message.
Because it looks like a letter of intent, and a letter of intent shows an intent to buy, right? But it's not a binding document. It's just terms of a future agreement that could happen.
Yes.
Then we have a purchase agreement
Yes.
after the letter of intent, which is the second.
The letter of
next
intent
document.
was the first one, but the assets purchase agreement was submitted on February 5th, and then it was agreed by both parties on February 7th, which is like 2 days later. So my understanding is they're gonna do their due diligences and apply for the liquor within 7 days. But then after 7 days, they kind of backed out, and then we tried to text back and forth, and they did not answer.
And whatever happened with that application? Did we receive it?
They never submitted.
Never.
They never submitted.
Okay.
Acting Mayor, I have a couple of questions. My concern here is that everything that you presented initiated this whole conundrum that you're in. But it still doesn't address the challenge of you selling when you should not have been selling, right? During that period between the 1st through the 9th. One thing that I've learned from a friend of mine is that when it comes to alcohol issues and codes, that we need to defend that the most, right? And I think that's where the challenge is here, is trying to understand where you're coming from as to why you operated your business still when you had clear communication from the police that you did not have a license and that you were not in compliance and you should not have been selling. Did the bank or the SBA, did they tell you that you had to be open, or?
No.
No.
It was, may I speak? It was, our rent was due on the 1st of every month. And it was when the rent was due, and when we sent in a check, it was rejected because we had no funds in the account. And that's when we need the funds in order to pay for our rent. And regarding that, the lease agreement states that we have to pay our rent no matter what, if we're not opening or operating.
Would it be fair to assume that the lease would also require you to be in compliance with having the right licenses and codes as well, right?
Yes.
But it's also out of our hand. We every year we submit our application on time, but this year was because of this challenge that we're going through too, and we didn't know that it's gonna fell through. I'm checking my text here with the broker. It was at the end of February that they back out. So.
So that means you would have the entire month of March to get the license then, correct?
Yeah. Yes. But we submit the application on February 29th.
When, process-wise, I think Chief Newton touched on it a little bit. So when would applications needed to be submitted for consideration in March? Was that the end of February as well?
Mr. Mayor, City Council, so 2 points on that. It was February sometime.
Okay.
That's why it wasn't approved at the March meeting, right? Because it was late and it just needed time to process. There's no other further penalty beyond that. That's why it wasn't approved by April 1st. I think that's your point. Why it wasn't approved by April 1st, because the application was late. We had a good handful of businesses that didn't get it in on time. So that's why it came to the April 9th meeting for the first time.
Again, what was the cutoff for those applications?
It was,
31st of January?
Well, is it 60 days, Chris?
it's some number between, it's sometime February, I'm sorry, I don't know. It's 45 to 60 days. I just don't know exactly what the number is.
According to the letters that we received, it was February 16th.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. So I am in favor of denial, but one caveat I want to add to that is I think it would be beneficial to everybody to make a decision on a time period to which they could potentially reapply. And Chris, maybe you want to weigh in on that from a staff perspective, or Jim from a legal perspective?
And acting mayor and rest of the council, nothing else discretionary. I do have two questions on facts. Would it be okay if I ask those for the applicant so the record's clear?
Absolutely.
Sir, when did you say you received notification by the buyer that they were backing out? What was the date that you found out that they had backed out?
It was March 1st.
Okay. So it was after the deadline for submitting the liquor license application that you found out? Okay.
And I have our text here too.
I think that's it. I think we just wanted to clarify those dates.
You know, Jake, I would be in support of that. I think I would be open to denying this liquor license with a period for when they can reapply that they would have to honor before they could qualify to reapply. And I would leave it up to the council for us to, you know, come to a decision on what we feel would be fair and appropriate.
Mr. Mayor, City Council, or Mr. Acting Mayor, you asked my opinion. I don't have an opinion. I think that is totally discretionary, as our city attorney mentioned. Consider what's before you, and the reason why you're denying is all I'd ask you to do when you come up with whatever date that is.
Right, and if I could speak quick, and to your point, Councilmember Herr, I do think that upholding liquor and controlled substance licenses is really, really important because of who can get access to that if we don't hold true and diligent to those rules. So I think of, you had mentioned family members stepping in, which is perfectly acceptable in a business sense, but if the responsibility or how important it is to make sure that we're serving only the people by law who are allowed to have those substances isn't through the entire organization, it speaks to larger concerns. So I would be in favor of denial, but with no term personally.
No term meaning?
Meaning just a straight denial. And of course, the city council can bring it back up as a group, right? If they wanted to reconsider.
Yeah, because it's my understanding, and tell me if I'm wrong, but if we don't set a term, they could apply again tomorrow. Would that be accurate?
Acting Mayor and members of council, Yes, if there's nothing in the city code that, prevents them from reapplying, obviously they would face the same hurdles that they are currently facing. If the sense of the council, a majority of the council feels the appropriate action is to deny, there would be to adopt the resolution that's on the table. But if a majority feels to give the applicant direction that they're free to, they consider a new application in X number of days, you can do that.
So,
I should say with a denial, but with the ability to submit a new application within X number of days.
Yeah, and then with no guarantee that we would.
No, there's no guarantee, but it would have the practical effect of them not being able to sell liquor during that time frame.
Yep. Anybody, are you still with just?
Yeah, I personally think it sends the wrong message after all of the attempts the police had made and the willful disobedience for this. To be able to say that you can apply again just sends a message that there's ways around this, even if the council were to consider again and deny. So for that reason, if that's the vote, I would be voting against.
Just blanket
It would
denial?
just be a straight
Okay.
denial.
Noah, Susie?
I'm kind of with Councilmember Morcomb
Okay.
in this case. It bothers me immensely that you are selling to underage, and I totally understand the family thing. I absolutely do. But it does concern me. But this April is what concerns me, is that you were asked to stop selling multiple times and you didn't. And that shows to me that maybe you don't respect the city ordinances as much as you should have when you're selling alcohol. That's where I'm sitting.
Mr. Acting Mayor, City Council, if I could read the resolution before you to deny does have some conditions or explanation on it, and two of them might be pertinent to your discussion about when you might want to allow the applicant to deny or to reapply. Number 3 on page 2 of the proposed resolution says these violations demonstrate that renewal of licensees off-sale intoxicating liquor license is not in the public interest, and that continued operation by licensee poses a risk to the public. So that is what your denial is stating. Further, it states it is not in the best interest of the residents of the city of Oakdale for the city council to renew licensees off-sale intoxicating liquor license. So I only present that to you because that is the reason why you're saying the denial holds. So if you're going to suggest a date where they can apply, you should consider your reason for denial.
Could you read that one more time, please?
Sure, the last two, there's 4, but I think the last 2 are more pertinent. These violations demonstrate that renewal of licensees off-sale intoxicating liquor license is not in the public interest, and that continued operation by licensee poses a risk to the public. And number 4 states, it is not in the best interest of the residents of the city of Oakdale for the city council to renew licensees off-sale intoxicating liquor license. Those are your noted reasons for possible denial.
Point taken. Noah, do you have anything else?
I think, I think this is a challenging decision in the sense that, some of the actions taken here have really, put the public at risk, and I do feel that, I do feel that with the proposed resolution and the wording there, moving forward with a denial, and then without any date, then would be appropriate based on that.
Yep, and I agree.
Agreed.
Any other discussion? Okay, do you have anything else you'd like to present at this point?
Nothing.
Okay. Then I think you guys could probably have a seat. And do we want to leave them the option that if anything else comes up, to give them another opportunity to come up?
Oh, during the hearing?
Yeah.
Tonight?
Yeah, during the hearing, yeah.
Sure,
So-
at any time, if
Yep,
if
just,
they
yeah,
want.
maybe just raise your hand and I'll acknowledge you and call you back up if you guys have anything else you want to add.
Okay.
Okay, I'll just ask one more time. Any other discussion amongst council or staff or Jim? All right, at this point, I will look for a motion.
I don't have that language in front of me.
I don't either.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
I'm happy to, but I don't have it.
So the motion, Jim, would be,
Would it just be to
Maybe I can help with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the motion, if it's for the now, would be to adopt resolution number 2024-41, denying an application for renewal of an off-sale intoxicating liquor license. This is a resolution that contains the references to the police reports and contains the two conditions that city administrator just noted. So that the appropriate motion would be to move to adopt resolution number 2024-41, denying application.
Move to adopt. All right, I'll make a motion, move to adopt Resolution 2024-41. The City Council denies the application for renewal of an off-site intoxicating liquor license for Oak Liquor at 1801 Geneva Avenue North in Oakdale.
Okay, we have a motion. Anyone have a second?
Second.
All right, we have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion passes. Thank you, guys.
Mr. Acting Mayor, just be sure, the motion, record should reflect it passed 4-0 with the mayor abstaining.
Okay, yep, and the record will show that it passed 4-0 with the mayor abstaining. All right, thank you, guys. All right, I'll turn it back over to Mayor Zabel.
Thank you, Councilmember Ingebrigtsen. Now is our opportunity to check in with our city attorney, Mr. Thompson. Do you have anything to share with us?
Mr. Mayor, members of council, nothing further, no.
Council members, any questions for Jim? All right, let's turn to the right and check in with City Administrator Chris Volkers.
I have nothing to report.
Nothing. All right, council members, any questions for Chris? How about council presentations? Does anybody have anything?
I just want to share with everyone that the month of April is Hmong Heritage Month in the state of Minnesota. And it's just a month where, we celebrate our heritage and our journey here to America and how much we've contributed and really just assimilated into becoming Americans here. So just want to give a shout out to my fellow Hmong citizens out there. And thank you guys so much for that time.
Nothing from me.
How about down here? Jake, Randy?
Nothing.
Nothing? All right, I got a few updates. Our annual park cleanup week began yesterday and runs through Sunday, April 28th. We had a city crew down at Tanner's today. I saw Councilmember Herr in the photos and a bunch of our city senior staff, so thank you to them for cleaning up Tanner's. But this is an open call to residents to help make Oakdale parks look great for the summer by volunteering a little bit of time to pick up some trash and debris that's accumulated over the winter. We provide garbage bags. If you would like to reserve a park, I think we actually had the list on the city's Facebook page today of which parks need to be adopted yet. But you can call the Recreation Department at 651-747-3860 and claim a park, and we would really appreciate any help you can provide. This Saturday, we have two big events going on. First, our Pete Graske Arbor Day tree giveaway will be here at Walton Park. The 200 trees provided by the city have been claimed and will be picked up and planted by Oakdale residents. A big thank you to the residents that signed up. As I mentioned in the proclamation earlier, this event was started 49 years ago by Mayor Pete Graske, and it's added thousands of trees to our community over the years. I know we always get this question out there, is it okay if I come a little early over my time slot? Yeah, it's usually fine, We also get questions about extra trees. What do we do with those? And typically we have said if you come at the end of the event and there are any left over, we're happy to provide them. So I think it goes, I'm gonna look at Lori, 11 11 o'clock is at the end, around there? Yeah. So if you weren't able to sign up for one, but would like to see if there are extras, come visit us around 11 o'clock and we'll be able to give you a better idea if there's any trees left. Also on Saturday is a free paper shredding event held at the northeast corner of the City Hall parking lot from 9 a.m. to noon. So if you have bags and boxes of confidential documents, bring them on down and they can be safely destroyed. We want to offer a very big thank you to the Eberhard Group Real Estate for sponsoring this event once again this year. It's always very popular. The Maplewood Oakdale Lions Club will be hosting the annual citywide garage sales Thursday, May 2nd through Saturday, May 4th. If you would like your garage sale included this year, please visit the Maplewood Oakdale Lions Club Facebook page for more information. And they just have like a quick Google form registration system, and it's free to add your sale to the list. An official meetup spot to host online sales and exchanges was recently added to Walton Park in the parking lot near the Walton Memorial, just north of the police department. There's a green meetup sign on a post out there, so keep an eye out for that. We do want to caveat this by saying while the spot is under video surveillance, which definitely adds a sense of safety and security while you're making those exchanges, it's not monitored in real time. So, use your best judgment, trust your gut, but this is a resource that we want to make available to our residents. One additional one I want to add. Spring is a crazy time for the city, for city government. If you think of everything that's going on, Public Works is changing over from winter to spring and summer operations. Recreation is gearing up for summer programming. Police and fire are always busy. They always have a lot going on. Administration, we're going to be kicking off the budget process soon. So, Chris, you do a fantastic job working with our department heads and the finance team. There's just a lot going on. And we don't say thank you enough for everything that our team does for this community. We all see the incredible work and effort and professionalism that our team brings every single day. We appreciate it. We know we can get a little nutty sometimes and pile on some tasks, that adds to your workload, but we really do appreciate everything our staff does, especially during these crazy times, so thank you.
You.
Time to pay the bills. We have a claims roster, April 10th through April 23rd, 2024, in the amount of $975,174.14. Council members, can I get a motion to approve?
Make a motion.
Yep.
Motion to approve claims as presented.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And the bills are paid. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you and good night.